Mission statements often spend a lot of time talking about what product and what service a company delivers or what geography it operates in. The things that actually seem to be associated with companies getting leverage from their mission statement have to do with articulating some broader purpose, some philosophy, some concept of what the organization views itself as standing for. There's been studies that have shown that mission statements that reference employees and society and values seem to be the ones that are associated with high-performing organizations. Everybody feels compelled to have a mission statement on their website, but to a large extent, those mission statements simply, as I've said, kind of articulate what business we're in, what markets we serve, perhaps what technologies we embrace. They're more descriptive than aspirational. And what all the evidence suggests is that there's not a great deal of comparative advantage to be gained by simply articulating what business you're in. To the extent that the mission statement is going to really capture the imagination of the stakeholders who are reading it, employees, customers, perhaps suppliers, it needs to have a stronger sort of value and philosophical basis. The ability to recruit and retain key personnel, the extent to which you can get by with less formal supervision and less formal kind of administrative oversight because the mission statement provides guidance to people that doesn't need to be provided by having lots of sheriffs around telling them what to do. Whether you're able in recruiting and retaining people to do so competitively, that is, if working for an organization whose mission you believe in is something people are willing to give up wages for, then presumably that ought to increase the capacity of organizations with a compelling mission to not just recruit and retain, but to do so relatively effectively and inexpensively. There's certainly a lot of indirect evidence that suggests that millennials are attentive to mission. Millennials in general, and in particular, the most kind of connected, digitally savvy millennials claim to be highly attuned to the purpose and mission of the organizations that they would join or have joined. Interestingly, their evidence also suggests that's true for women as well, that women in general are slightly more likely to say that the mission looms larger in their decisions about where to work and where to stay working. I think the first question that you have to ask is, are you willing and able to be mission-driven? If you're not, then having a good mission statement doesn't really mean anything. And so I think organizations that are mission-driven incorporate their mission as a basis for kind of every element of their human resource system, for how they think about recruitment and selection and development and compensation and the management and measurement of performance and how they design people's jobs and how they communicate and on and on and on. And so I think the first question, if you have a mission that you think is not necessarily the most compelling mission, before you spend a lot of time trying to tweak it and write a nicer mission, is to ask, are you really in a position to be able to manage and lead according to the mission? Are you prepared to do that? Embracing hollow commitments is worse than not articulating any commitments. And so that's why I say, I mean, the first question that I think a management team has to ask before it spends a lot of time on its mission statement is, what does it stand for and how does it intend to run the organization and manage its people? And if purpose is really not central to that, then there may be much better things to spend your time on than a mission statement. Increasingly, there seems to be a lot of belief that purpose and leading through purpose is a valuable approach, particularly for today's generations of workers who crave some loftier purpose for what they're doing. But if there is no purpose other than to maximize shareholder return, which is a fine purpose to have, then perhaps there are other things to worry about than how lofty the prose is in your mission statement.